The alien research station floated alone in the endless darkness, a small dot of life surrounded by cold, empty stars. Its metal hull creaked under the strain of constant cosmic radiation, and the thin walls shuddered as the station drifted closer to a violent storm of charged particles that crackled just outside the shields. Inside, the crew moved in uneasy silence. Their eyes were tired, their skin pale from weeks of isolation, and every sound, the faint hum of engines, the occasional clank of metal, seemed to echo too loudly through the empty corridors. Commander Korlak, a tall, gray-skinned alien with mottled blue markings on his arms, paced the central control deck. His tentacle-like appendages flicked nervously over the consoles as he reviewed sensor readings again and again. The storm outside had thrown their navigation systems into chaos. They were trapped in hostile space, far from any supply lines, and every passing ship could mean death. "This place feels wrong," muttered one of the junior officers, glancing at the swirling lights outside. "Every system is down. We're sitting ducks." Korlak grunted in agreement, but said nothing. He didn't want to alarm the crew further. They were already on edge. Weeks of ration supplies and constant vigilance had frayed their nerves, leaving them jumpy and suspicious. Then, almost imperceptibly, the sensors flickered. A tiny blip appeared on the display, pulsing faintly in the void. "Commander," the communications officer whispered, his voice tight with disbelief. "There's a signal. It's faint, but it's there. I can't fully decode it, but it's human code." Korlak froze. He stared at the blip for a long moment, his mind racing. Humans. The word alone carried a mixture of confusion and ridicule among alien scholars. They had long dismissed humans as primitive, weak, and far too fragile to survive in deep space. Yet here, in this lonely, forgotten corner of the galaxy, a human message had found them. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Some chuckled quietly, unable to resist the absurdity. "Humans. Weak. No match for our forces. It must be some kind of joke," one officer said with a nervous laugh. Korlak allowed a dry, humorless smile. "Perhaps. But even a weak joke can be dangerous if ignored." He keyed the communication array to send a response. Static filled the chamber, crackling and hissing, as the faint SOS signal continued to pulse like a heartbeat. The station's lights flickered in time with the strange rhythm of the code, and the air seemed heavier, almost electric, with tension. Then, without warning, the void outside lit up. At first, it was just a shimmer, like sunlight breaking through a thick atmosphere. Then it grew, a sudden, unnatural flare of energy that stretched across the black sky. Every alien on the station froze. The movement was fast, too fast for any known spacecraft. The shape of warships appeared in the distance, enormous and gleaming, cutting through the storm clouds as if they ignored the violent turbulence entirely. "Impossible," muttered Korlak. "No life form could reach us this quickly." The crew held their breath as the ships drew closer, massive silhouettes breaking through the darkness. Each one was bristling with weapons, their hulls glowing with strange, unknown energy. Alien minds raced to identify them. These were not standard human vessels. The speed, the size, the sheer presence defied every record, every calculation. Panic began to ripple through the crew. The station's alarms, dormant for weeks, suddenly screamed to life. Red lights bathed the control deck in harsh, urgent color, painting the anxious faces of the aliens in a bloody hue. Tentacles twitched, claws tapped frantically on consoles, and sensors went haywire trying to track the approaching fleet. "What are they doing?" one officer gasped, voice shaking. Are they attacking?" Korlak shook his head, though his own chest tightened with fear. "I don't think so, not yet. But whatever this is, it's not what we expected." The fleet slowed slightly as it neared the station, moving in perfect formation. The void itself seemed to bend around them. Energy pulses from the ship's engines lit up the surrounding storm, making it impossible to see where the vessels ended and the charged clouds began. The aliens watched, paralyzed with awe and terror, as the mysterious fleet stopped just outside the station's defensive perimeter. Then the communications array crackled to life, a deep, commanding voice speaking in perfect human tones. "This is the fleet of the United Earth Defense. We have received your distress signal. Stand down and prepare for evacuation. Hostile forces will not be tolerated." The aliens stared at each other in stunned silence. Humans, here? And with such overwhelming power. The SOS signal, once dismissed as desperate and weak, was no longer a cry for help, it was a warning. Korlak's mind raced. If humans could move this fast, strike with such precision, and wield such unimaginable firepower, what chance did any alien vessel have against them? Their assumptions about human fragility, about their weakness, were shattered in seconds. They had been wrong, terribly wrong. Outside, the fleet's massive warships remained poised, silent but deadly. The station trembled under the weight of their presence. The crew of the research station, who had laughed at the idea of humans, now realized the magnitude of what had come for them. The faint SOS signal had not been a simple request for help. It had been a beacon, summoning a force so powerful, so relentless, that no alien could face it and remain untouched. The storm raged on, but the void had grown quieter. The approaching human fleet had changed everything. For the first time, the aliens felt the full weight of fear, not just for themselves, but for the future of their species. They had misjudged humans, and now, they would learn the cost of that mistake. Korlak's eyes narrowed, and a shiver ran through his tentacles. "Prepare the station," he ordered, voice steady but low. "We don't know what comes next, but we will survive if we can. And if humans are as dangerous as they say." He paused, staring at the enormous ships just beyond the shields. "Then maybe we've just been given a chance to see the future, and live through it." The station hummed with anxious activity, alarms blaring, consoles flashing, and hearts racing. Outside, the Deathworlders, humans born to survive the impossible, waited. The small SOS signal had been answered. And nothing would ever be the same again. The alien crew could hardly believe their eyes. Outside the viewport, the massive human fleet hung in the void like a living storm. The ships were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Sleek, angular, and bristling with weapons that pulsed with strange, deadly light. Their engines glowed with a blue-white energy that bent space around them, creating an eerie halo that made the stars themselves seem to shimmer. Commander Korlak's tentacles trembled slightly as he scanned the ships. He had spent decades analyzing human technology, cataloging their history, studying their so-called primitive ways. But nothing in any record had prepared him for this. These were humans unlike any he had imagined. Every ship looked alive, as if it had been built to hunt, to strike, and to survive in impossible conditions. They aren't ordinary humans," muttered the communications officer, voice tight with fear. "This fleet, it's military grade. Elite. Dangerous." Korlak gave a sharp nod. "Not just elite. They are Deathworlders. Humans from the most hostile planets. Their survival, their strength, it's built into them." The aliens exchanged nervous glances. The term, Deathworlder, was legendary. Stories passed down in whispers spoke of humans who had survived environments that would kill any other species. Planets where the air could burn lungs, storms that shredded cities, predators that could crush a starship with a single strike. And now, the full force of such humans was here, ready to answer a tiny SOS signal. The fleet shifted, moving closer in a precise, calculated formation. The aliens watched in horror as the massive ships blocked every exit route from their system. Every possible avenue of escape had vanished. It was as if the humans had predicted every move they might make before they even thought of it. "Commander," said one of the junior officers, voice barely audible. They're surrounding us. There's nowhere to go." Korlak's eyes narrowed. "Good," he said. "If these humans came here, they must know what's at stake. We survive, or we die. But if they are like the stories, they will destroy anything that threatens us." A sudden flash of light drew everyone's attention to the station's external cameras. One of the Deathworlder ships released a smaller craft that darted toward the station like a predator. It moved faster than any alien ship, slipping through the storm and shielding without a single misstep. The crew held their breath as it approached the docking bay. The docking clamps clicked into place with a soft, almost imperceptible hiss. Then, through the reinforced viewport, figures appeared, humans clad in black armor that shimmered under the lights. They were tall, muscular, and moved with a confidence that radiated danger. Weapons were strapped to their bodies, but there was no panic, no hesitation. They were calm, controlled, and utterly deadly. One of the aliens whispered, voice shaking. They look like soldiers from the stories. Deathworlders. They survive everything. Korlak stepped forward, tentacles curling around the control rail. Yes, he said softly. And now, they are here to answer a call that we barely dared to make. The human soldiers moved through the docking bay with silent efficiency, their boots barely making a sound against the metal floor. They checked the station systems, repaired damaged panels, and secured the perimeter without a single word. The alien crew watched in awe and fear. These humans weren't just rescuers. They were hunters. They were warriors who had survived planets that could kill on sight, and now they were in control. Outside, the alien sensors picked up movement. Fleets from neighboring systems had begun to converge, alerted by the human presence. Ships that would normally intimidate a weak alien station now seemed insignificant. The Deathworlders responded instantly. Energy pulses flared from the main fleet, cutting through hostile ships before they could even fire a shot. Explosions lit up the dark void, alien vessels spinning and burning as the humans executed maneuvers that no one thought possible. The SOS crew could hardly keep up with the display. It was chaos, but ordered chaos. Every human ship moved with purpose, precision, and deadly intent. Korlak's eyes followed one small alien fighter attempting to escape through a nearby asteroid field. Before it could flee, a human interceptor appeared, cutting off its path. The fighter hesitated, then veered, only to be corralled further by the fleet. No alien ship could escape the reach of these Deathworlders. The crew began to understand the truth. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They were unstoppable. And they had come not just to rescue, but to assert dominance. A young communications officer, barely able to hold back her fear, muttered under her breath, "We called for help, but we didn't know help could be like this." Korlak nodded grimly. "We thought humans were weak. We thought they were slow. But look at them. They survive where we would perish. They fight where we would flee. And now, they are here." Outside the viewport, the storm continued to rage, but the human fleet moved through it with supernatural ease. The small SOS signal, once dismissed as weak and desperate, had summoned a force beyond imagination. The aliens watched in stunned silence, their panic slowly giving way to a mix of awe and terror. The Deathworlders were here. And the universe, they realized, had changed forever. The void outside the station was alive with chaos. Alien fleets that had once ruled this sector now tumbled helplessly under the onslaught of the human Deathworlders. Explosions tore through the darkness, casting eerie flashes of red and orange across the hull of the station. Every alien on board froze, watching as what had seemed impossible unfolded before their eyes. Commander Korlak gripped the control rail tightly, his tentacles twitching with tension. "They're efficient," he muttered. "Too efficient." From the station sensors, the alien crew could see the first wave of attacking ships being annihilated. Human warships didn't just fire blindly, they moved in perfect formation, striking with surgical precision. Beams of glowing energy carved through enemy hulls like a hot knife through metal. Alien ships that had been confident and aggressive moments ago now spun wildly, their crews screaming in panic as the Deathworlders dismantled them piece by piece. One of the junior officers pointed at the main viewport. "Commander, look. They're not even hitting the wrong targets. Every strike. It's calculated." Korlak didn't answer. He simply stared, his eyes reflecting the blazing light of distant destruction. The SOS crew had expected humans to be slow, uncoordinated, even vulnerable. But these Deathworlders moved like predators in a forest where every tree was a potential threat. And somehow, nothing could stop them. The station trembled as a nearby alien cruiser attempted to retaliate. Its weapons discharged in wild, desperate arcs, but the humans anticipated every shot. A single perfectly timed volley from a Deathworlder battleship tore through the cruiser's defenses, reducing it to a burning husk in seconds. The explosion lit the surrounding space, bathing the station in an unearthly glow. A young communications officer whispered, voice trembling, they're unstoppable. Korlak's face tightened, a mix of fear and awe in his gaze. They are humans, he said softly. Deathworlders. And they have answered our SOS in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Meanwhile, outside, the smaller alien ships tried to regroup, desperate to form a blockade. But the humans moved like shadows through the void, intercepting each vessel before it could coordinate. Fighters were destroyed mid-flight. Cruisers were ripped apart by beams that burned faster than the eye could follow. Every move seemed pre-calculated, almost instinctive, and the aliens realized with a cold dread that their assumptions about human weakness had been catastrophically wrong. In the control room, panic began to give way to awe. One of the alien officers, a thin creature with spindly limbs, whispered, I never thought humans could fight like this. They survive everything. Yes, Korlak said, his voice steady but low, and now they fight for others too. They answer calls that no one else dares to hear. The SOS crew watched as a group of human interceptors flanked a massive alien battleship. The human ships moved as one, almost alive, dodging energy blasts while coordinating their own attacks with deadly precision. The alien crew could only watch helplessly as the Deathworlders executed maneuvers that no alien strategist had ever imagined. And then, without warning, one of the human vessels fired a beam that struck the battleship's central core. The impact tore through the hull, sending a wave of fire and debris across the void. The battleship shuddered violently before breaking apart entirely, leaving nothing but floating wreckage in its wake. The station shook from the force, and alarms screamed. Tentacles twitched, claws gripped consoles, and every alien on board felt the weight of the moment. The humans were not here to negotiate, or even to warn. They were here to enforce, to dominate, and to protect those who had called for help. The SOS crew began to understand something profound. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They were born for survival, for war, and for impossible situations. And when they moved together, when they answered a signal, they became a force the galaxy could not ignore. Korlak turned to his officers. We are witnessing something unprecedented. Pay attention. Learn what you can. And survive. If humans can move like this, then the universe has changed. Forever. Outside, the void still burned with the glow of destruction. Alien fleets scattered, retreats that once would have been orderly now dissolved into chaos. And at the center of it all, the human Deathworlders moved silently, efficiently, unstoppable, and unyielding, the answer to a call that had seemed hopeless. The SOS crew watched, their fear mixing with awe, as the first strike of the Deathworlders ended as quickly as it had begun. Space around them was littered with debris and burning ships, a testament to the humans' power and precision. And somewhere deep inside, a silent truth settled over them. No one would ever underestimate humans again. The storm outside continued, but the Deathworlders, calm, calculated, merciless, were the eye of that storm. And the aliens realized, with growing dread, that their fate was no longer in their hands. The alien crew could barely breathe as the massive human ships hovered around the research station like predators circling prey. The SOS signal had summoned not a rescue, they had summoned judgment. Every alien on board felt it in their bones. The humans were here, and nothing would survive if it threatened them. Commander Korlak signaled the crew to stand by. Keep calm. Observe. And whatever you do, do not provoke them. A low hum filled the station as a docking clamp engaged. From the viewport, the aliens watched a single human vessel release a smaller craft. It moved with supernatural speed, gliding effortlessly through the charged storm clouds that had battered the station for weeks. The craft docked with a soft hiss. The aliens could see figures moving inside, tall humans in black armor that shimmered under the dim light. Their faces were partially covered, but their eyes were sharp, focused, unyielding. Every step they took was precise, controlled, and terrifyingly silent. The aliens expected an attack. They had prepared for it, hidden behind consoles and bulkheads. But the humans did not fire. They did not shout. They simply moved through the corridors, securing the station with calm efficiency. One of the junior officers whispered, voice trembling. They're not even angry. They're cleaning up. Korlak nodded grimly. They are Deathworlders. They do not attack without reason, but when they do, they destroy everything in their path. This is a rescue, but it is also a warning. The humans split into teams. Some checked the station's structural integrity, repairing broken conduits and shields. Others scanned the storage bays, ensuring that no alien traps or hidden weapons remained. Every movement was deliberate. Every action calculated. There was no panic, no hesitation, only an unstoppable purpose. Outside, the alien fleet attempted to regroup, hoping to intimidate the human newcomers. They unleashed volleys of plasma and energy blasts toward the station. But the humans responded with lightning-fast precision. Shields flared, and energy beams shot outward, disabling alien weapons with terrifying efficiency. Not a single human ship was damaged. Inside, the SOS crew could only watch. The humans moved like shadows, silent but overwhelming. One of the younger aliens, barely able to stand, muttered, I thought humans were weak, fragile, but they are something else. Korlak's tentacles tightened around the control rail. We all underestimated them. And we are seeing what that mistake costs. The Deathworlders approached the station's central hub. One human soldier extended a scanning device, and instantly, the station's life support systems flickered back to full operation. Panels lit up, shields stabilized, and damaged corridors powered on. The aliens gasped. Humans were not only warriors, they were engineers, medics, and strategists. Their efficiency saved lives almost as much as it destroyed threats. A small group of alien crew members attempted to flee through a maintenance corridor. In a blink, a Deathworlder intercepting unit blocked the path, silently corralling them back toward the central hub. There was no aggression, no intimidation, just a calm assertion of control. Resistance was pointless. Escape was impossible. Korlak's eyes narrowed as he watched. They don't need to scare us. They don't need to kill us. Their presence alone. It is enough. Outside the viewport, the storm continued to rage, but the human fleet moved with unnatural grace, unaffected by turbulence or debris. Alien ships that had once seemed invincible now scrambled for cover, desperately trying to avoid human firepower. Every move of the Deathworlders was calculated, precise, unstoppable. Back inside the station, the SOS crew began to understand something fundamental. These humans were not just a fighting force, they were a force of nature. Born on planets where survival was brutal, tempered by impossible conditions, they were strong, ruthless, and incorruptible. They save those who call for help, whispered one officer, mixing with fear, and they destroy anything that dares to interfere. Korlak nodded slowly, his mind racing. We are alive because of them, and we will remain alive only if we respect them. Learn from them. Follow their orders. And never, ever underestimate what a human can do. For a moment, silence fell over the station, broken only by the faint hum of repaired machinery. The humans moved steadily through the halls, ensuring every corridor, every room, and every system was secure. The aliens could only watch, hearts pounding, as they realized the full scope of what had arrived to answer their desperate SOS. The Deathworlders were here. They were terrifying. They were precise. And they were in control. And in that moment, the SOS crew knew one undeniable truth. The universe had changed forever. News of the Deathworlders' arrival spread like wildfire across nearby star systems. Alien colonies that had once ruled their sectors with confidence now trembled in fear. Fleets that had been prepared to dominate were thrown into chaos. Reports came in. Small research stations were being protected effortlessly, hostile ships destroyed in seconds, and the SOS crew, aliens who had once laughed at humans, were now alive and unharmed. In the command chambers of the largest neighboring empire, panic erupted. High counselors shouted over each other, tentacles waving and claws slamming on consoles. They cannot be real. No species could possess this level of power, one screeched. Our fleets are superior. Our numbers unmatched. An older counselor, his skin cracked with age, shook his head in disbelief. Our scouts are accurate. Their ships, they move faster than our sensors can track. Their weapons, they strike before we even know the target exists. And yet, they spare the weak, the helpless. Humans, Deathworlders, they are unstoppable. Korlak watched the comm feeds from the station, noting the growing panic in alien systems. The SOS crew's faces mirrored a mix of awe and fear. They had survived thanks to the Deathworlders, but now the wider galaxy was awakening to the reality of human power. Outside the station, alien fleets attempted to consolidate their strength. Battleships and cruisers formed lines of attack, desperate to intimidate the humans. But the Deathworlders did not attack recklessly. Instead, they moved with eerie precision, intercepting threats before they could align for a strike. One massive alien dreadnought fired a full salvo of plasma torpedoes, hoping to cripple a human warship. The Deathworlders responded instantly. Energy shields flared, deflecting every blast, while human interceptors struck the dreadnought's engines with pinpoint accuracy. Within moments, the massive vessel was crippled, its crew screaming in confusion and fear. "Commander Korlak," whispered one of the junior officers, eyes wide. They're destroying the fleets without even trying. Look at how fast they move. How precise they are. Korlak's tentacles twitched. This is why the galaxy underestimated humans. They are not just survivors, they are hunters. Strategists. Warriors unlike anything we've ever faced. The alien leaders' panic only worsened as reports came in from every corner of their territories. Colonies that had once resisted human expansion were now under threat, not from attack, but from mere presence. Ships attempting to flee were intercepted, supply lines were cut before they could deliver resources. "They are everywhere," one counselor said, trembling. "No fleet can escape. No station is safe. And yet, they choose who to destroy and who to spare. Humans, Deathworlders, they are not just strong, they are selective. Calculating." Korlak observed silently. The SOS crew had begun to whisper among themselves, realizing that humans' power was not just in weapons or speed, it was in the minds behind them. Humans anticipated, calculated, and struck with perfect timing. The galaxy had never faced anything like it. A junior officer asked quietly, "Do you think they will leave us alive?" Korlak's eyes were fixed on the distant human ships, gleaming against the void. "We are alive now because they are merciful to those who call for help," he said softly. "But make no mistake, any who resist will not survive. The Deathworlders have come to change the galaxy, and resistance is meaningless." Outside, the storm of activity continued. The Deathworlders moved like shadows through space, dismantling coordinated attacks with ease. Alien ships tried to flee, only to find every path blocked, every maneuver anticipated. Panic had spread from the front lines to the command chambers. Entire systems were in chaos, and the once proud alien empires realized that the humans were something they could never control. The SOS crew watched in awe as the galaxy around them seemed to crumble under human precision. They understood now why the Deathworlders were feared. Every myth, every story about human survival and ruthlessness was true. And now, that power was on full display. Korlak turned to the crew, voice steady but low. "The galaxy is panicking because it has finally seen the truth. Humans survive the impossible. They strike with precision. They protect the weak. And they do not fail. Remember this. remember what we have seen. The universe will never be the same. In the void, the Deathworlders hovered, calm and unyielding, their presence alone reshaping the balance of power. The panic of alien leaders was a warning. Underestimate humans, and extinction would follow. The SOS crew could only nod, knowing deep inside that they were witnessing the dawn of a new era, one where humans born of Deathworlds ruled not just through fear, but through unstoppable skill and unyielding resolve. And somewhere, far beyond the station, another SOS signal flickered, waiting. The alien fleets that had once threatened the small research station were now in full retreat. Broken ships drifted in the void, hulls smoking and crews panicked. From the station's observation deck, the SOS crew watched as their enemies tried to regroup, only to find every escape route blocked by the human Deathworlders. Commander Korlak's tentacles twitched nervously. They anticipated everything, he muttered. Every move. Every possible escape. This is no ordinary response. It's a trap. A perfectly calculated trap. The aliens had called for help, thinking that humans would come, assist, and leave. They had expected a rescue, perhaps a few demonstrations of power. But nothing had prepared them for this. Humans did not just respond, they dominated. They had arrived with the precision of predators who already knew the patterns of their prey. The SOS crew realized the truth. The faint SOS signal they had sent had not merely summoned aid. It had revealed their position, their weaknesses, their isolation. And the Deathworlders had used it to orchestrate a show of absolute control. Outside the station, alien fleets tried to rally. One massive warship, a dreadnought bristling with weapons, charged directly at the human fleet. Its engines burned bright against the void, firing volleys in a desperate attempt to break through the blockade. But human ships anticipated its trajectory. Interceptors swarmed from multiple angles, cutting off escape routes and striking with deadly precision. Within minutes, the dreadnought was crippled, spinning into debris. The SOS crew's eyes widened in horror. They knew exactly what would happen, whispered one officer. It's as if they planned this before we even sent the SOS. Korlak's tentacles wrapped around a console, gripping tightly. They did. Humans see patterns we cannot. They survive worlds we cannot. And now, they hunt with the same efficiency that keeps them alive. From the station sensors, the aliens could see smaller alien ships attempting to flee through asteroid fields, hoping to escape unnoticed. But the Deathworlders had already predicted these routes. Human fighters flitted among the asteroids like shadows, blocking paths, herding ships into precise zones. Beams of energy struck alien hulls with pinpoint accuracy, leaving nothing untouched. This is beyond war, muttered the communications officer, his voice trembling. This is strategy at a level we cannot comprehend. Korlak's eyes narrowed as he realized the deeper truth. The SOS crew had been saved not only because humans were strong, but because humans had calculated every risk, every possibility, every potential threat. The faint call for help had not only summoned aid, it had lured enemies into the Deathworlders' control. Even the station itself, battered and isolated, seemed to gain strength under human presence. Shields stabilized, engines hummed with renewed power, and damaged corridors were repaired almost instantly. The humans were not merely fighters, they were engineers, tacticians, and survivalists all at once. Their arrival had shifted the balance of power completely. The SOS crew began to understand a terrifying fact: their enemies had been trapped before they even realized it. No alien fleet could escape the Deathworlders' grasp, and no attempt at rebellion would succeed. Every move, every action, every response had been anticipated. Outside, the void was quiet for a brief moment. The human fleet hovered, calm and controlled, waiting for any sign of resistance. The aliens had been led into a trap, not a physical trap, but a mental one. They were now playing a game they didn't even know they were in, and the humans were the masters of it. One of the younger officers, trembling, whispered, "We called for help, but maybe help isn't what we got. Maybe this is something far greater, far more dangerous." Korlak looked out the viewport at the glowing ships of the Deathworlders. His voice was steady, but heavy with awe. "We survived because they allowed it. We live because they chose to. But everything else, every alien who dares to challenge them, will fall. This trap is not mercy. It is a demonstration. And the galaxy will never forget it." In that silent moment, the SOS crew realized the full scale of what had happened. The faint, desperate SOS signal they had sent had summoned not just protection, but a force that reshaped the entire battlefield. Human Deathworlders were not merely fighters, they were hunters, tacticians, and masters of strategy, capable of turning a single call for help into an unstoppable trap. The storm of activity outside continued, but the humans remained calm, patient, and in control. Every alien ship, every fleet that dared to challenge them, had been caught in the snare. And the SOS crew knew that the Deathworlders' presence would not just save them, it would change the galaxy forever. The void trembled with the roar of engines and the flash of energy weapons. The last desperate alien fleets had gathered for a final, coordinated strike. They believed sheer numbers and firepower could overwhelm the humans. They believed that the Deathworlders, as terrifying as the stories said, could be defeated. They were wrong. Commander Korlak and the SOS crew watched from the station's central control deck, hearts pounding. Outside, the massive human fleet spread across the void, perfectly aligned, ready for the coming chaos. Every ship moved as if part of a single organism, reacting instantly to any threat, anticipating every maneuver. "Brace yourselves," Korlak whispered, tentacles gripping the rail. This is what they do." The first salvo erupted from the alien dreadnoughts. Plasma beams and torpedoes tore through the void toward the human fleet. For a moment, the station trembled as explosions lit the darkness. But the humans were faster. Their energy shields flared, absorbing the attacks, while interceptors darted through the chaos, striking alien vessels with surgical precision. The alien commanders could not comprehend it. Their strategies, calculated for decades, failed instantly. Every attack had been anticipated, every escape route blocked. The humans struck at weak points no one had noticed, dismantling weapon systems and crippling engines before the aliens could react. One massive alien battleship attempted a desperate flanking maneuver, firing volleys at multiple human ships simultaneously. In response, a squadron of Deathworlders split apart with impossible speed, evading every shot. Their counterattack was instantaneous. Blinding beams tore through the dreadnought's hull, cutting it in half. The explosion sent shockwaves across the void, rocking nearby alien ships. The SOS crew gasped. They can't miss," whispered one officer. "Every shot, every move, perfect." Korlak nodded grimly. "They are not just fighters. They are predators. And we are witnessing a hunt." Outside, the battle escalated. Smaller alien ships swarmed like insects, attempting to overwhelm the humans with sheer numbers. But the Deathworlders remained calm. Fighters moved in coordinated patterns, cutting through waves of enemy ships with minimal losses. Larger human warships unleashed precise energy barrages, targeting engines and weapon arrays. Every alien vessel that posed a threat was neutralized, almost without effort. The SOS crew could feel the tension rising. Debris from destroyed ships floated around the station, spinning silently in the void. Explosions illuminated the battlefield like distant fireworks, but even in the chaos, the humans remained unflinching, controlled, unstoppable. One of the junior officers muttered, voice trembling. How can anyone survive that?" "They don't just survive," Korlak replied, eyes locked on the viewport. "They dominate. They destroy only what must be destroyed. They protect those who call for help. And they leave nothing to chance." The final alien battleship, the largest and most heavily armed of the fleet, charged forward in a desperate gamble. Its weapons fired in every direction, creating a storm of energy that threatened to overwhelm the Deathworlders. The SOS crew held their breath. But the humans did not falter. Every ship reacted instantly, moving in perfect synchrony. Interceptors weaved through the firestorm, targeting weapon systems and engines. Beams of energy struck with unerring accuracy. The massive alien ship shuddered violently, its shields failing under the precise assault. Within moments, it was crippled, tumbling into the void as a blazing tomb. The alien morale collapsed completely. Fleets scattered, some surrendering, others fleeing into uncharted space. The Deathworlders pursued only as needed, ensuring no threats remained near the SOS station. Korlak turned to the crew, voice steady but filled with awe. "Look at them. Calm, precise, unstoppable. We thought we called for help, but we were saved by something far greater. Humans. Deathworlders. They are beyond our understanding." The SOS crew realized something profound. This battle was not just about survival. It was a demonstration. A warning. Humans had shown the galaxy their power, their skill, and their discipline. Every ship destroyed, every maneuver executed, every life spared, calculated. Perfect. Outside, the void finally grew quiet. The remnants of the alien fleets drifted in defeat, and the human Deathworlders hovered, calm, controlled, unyielding. The SOS station was safe. The aliens had survived. But the lesson was clear. The universe had changed. The humans had arrived. And nothing, no alien empire, no fleet, no strategy, could stand against them. Korlak exhaled slowly, tentacles relaxing. "We called for help, and the Deathworlders answered. Not just to save us, but to change everything." The SOS crew watched as the fleet slowly pulled away, leaving only silence and the glowing wreckage of defeated ships. The galaxy had witnessed a power beyond imagination, a force that would be feared for generations. And in that moment, the SOS crew knew one undeniable truth: humans were unstoppable. And somewhere, far in the void, another signal flickered, waiting. Silence returned to the void. The storm that had raged around the research station for days seemed to pause, as if the universe itself was catching its breath. The glowing wreckage of alien ships floated in the darkness, a testament to the unmatched precision and power of the human Deathworlders. The SOS crew moved cautiously through the station, still trembling from what they had witnessed. They were alive, unharmed, and for the first time in weeks, they could breathe without fear. Commander Korlak stood in the observation deck, staring out at the retreating human fleet. His mind replayed every detail of the battle, every precise strike, every coordinated maneuver, every alien ship obliterated before it could react. They saved us," one of the junior officers whispered, voice barely audible. "But they didn't just save us. They destroyed anyone who threatened us." Korlak's tentacles flexed as he nodded slowly. "Yes, and that is the difference. Humans, Deathworlders, they do not leave survival to chance. They do not gamble. They answer calls for help with power, precision, and purpose. And now, the galaxy knows it." Outside, the human fleet glimmered against the stars, engines casting a steady glow across the station's hull. The humans had done what no one else could. They had entered hostile space, protected the vulnerable, and shattered entire fleets with flawless efficiency. Yet, even as they moved, there was no boast, no arrogance. Their presence alone was a statement, a warning. The SOS crew began to understand the weight of what had happened. The stories of human Deathworlders surviving worlds that would kill any other species were true. Every tale, every myth, every whispered warning had underestimated the scale of their power. They had survived the impossible, conquered chaos, and now reshaped the fate of every alien who had doubted them. One officer asked quietly, "Do you think they will come back?" Korlak's gaze remained fixed on the glowing fleet. "If they are called again," he said, "they will answer. Not just to rescue, but to remind the galaxy who commands respect. The humans are not just survivors. They are the arbiters of the impossible. And the universe will never underestimate them again." Back in the alien systems, the surviving fleets transmitted stories of what had occurred. Fear spread like wildfire. The galaxy whispered of humans, Deathworlders who could annihilate fleets, predict every move, and protect those who called for help. Alien leaders trembled, not with anger, but with awe. They realized that the balance of power had shifted. For the SOS crew, life would return to a fragile normal. Repairs would be made, routines resumed, and communication relayed to distant systems. Yet, none of them would ever forget the sight of the human fleet, the calm, unstoppable, terrifying force that had answered their call when all hope seemed lost. Korlak exhaled slowly, the weight of the moment settling over him. We were abandoned, left to face the void alone. But humans, the Deathworlders, they came. They did not hesitate. They did not fail. And we live because of it. Their legacy is not just survival. It is a warning. The galaxy has seen what humanity can do, and it will never be the same again. The station hummed with renewed energy. Outside, the human fleet began to fade into the distance, leaving only a faint trail of light across the dark expanse. And somewhere, far beyond the station, another SOS signal flickered, tiny, desperate, waiting. Somewhere, in another corner of the galaxy, the Deathworlders would answer. And once again, nothing would survive that they deemed worth destroying. The SOS crew watched in silence. Their fear had turned to awe. Their desperation had been met with power beyond comprehension. And the universe had witnessed the arrival of something unstoppable. The legend of the Deathworlders, the humans who survive worlds that would kill stars, who answer cries for help with merciless efficiency, who can change the balance of power in an instant, had only just begun. And the galaxy would never forget them.